coin out of like freaking out parents.
That would be the coin.
Yeah. Buy it all. You're like, yeah. Let's see. Does this work now? Yep. Okay. I think we're good. Yeah. So I was gone for like 2 weeks and came back and everything was different.
Well, you should leave, man. Was it different really? Like, was it
no, it's more like there's been like the number of docs has gone up, and I need to catch up on what they all do and what they're all for, and then I chucked in my own extra docs that I remembered were lying around, so now there's like all these docs, and then we're like, you know, we got Git, and I was kind of like, how about this for a system? And then it became the system, and then it just feels like we ran away on ourselves. That's all.
Okay, all right. Is that a bad thing, or are you just thinking that we just need to maybe take a step back and merge some stuff and compile some?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to wrap my head around everything that's happened, everything that I have seen so far. All looks like the right track, which is I think is pretty exciting for me, because it's like, well, you know, I wasn't here, and now things are better, and
right,
like that's kind of what I want.
What you mean? You want your participation to be less and less, and then the scale of work going up and up? Is that it?
Well, I was more thinking my participation goes up, but the scale of work goes up as well. But okay. You know, I mean, shit happens, right? You can get taken off the board for any number of reasons.
I can run you down from my perspective. I can't speak for Scott, but basically I've just been doing everything I can to help Scott finish the DPL and the dictionary.
Okay. Now, is there a released version of the DPL now?
No. That's from my perspective, no, there's not a released version of the DPL. What we have is a core understanding of what the DPL is and how it would function, and then it would still need to go to a lawyer. So
okay. But I mean, like, in terms of the understanding of you and Scott, there is a released version now?
Yeah, we have a working version of the DPL. That's what I would call it. I would call it very much a work in progress, only because there still needs to be a legal touch to it somewhere.
Right, but that's sort of a different stage, and we once call this the beta release. We can't go to the lawyer until we've reached an internal release point.
Right. Well, this would be alpha in my mind. Okay. I mean, it's everything. All the principles are there. Everything that we would need, and everything that we discussed, and everything, all the action points, and all the things that we've all discussed that are important to us seem to be in that document captured. Is what I would say.
Awesome. Is it able to be moved over to Git so that we can commit it?
Oh, that is probably the one document I would say that absolutely should be in Git.
Okay.
Because whatever changes happen from this point on need to be captured, and they're probably going to be captured more from a legal standpoint. And I think that versioning needs to be captured somewhere. Absolutely. Yes. Okay.
When you suggested a versioning system for us, what did you mean?
Oh, so I mean, okay, so I'm just coming from a product perspective, like especially medical device manufacturing, where everything's quality control and all that stuff. So I just wanted to pick your brain as to what your expectations would be for releasing through Git. So I can give you the rundown of what a normal production cycle would be for a release system, especially from a quality perspective, and specifically for medical device manufacturing, because it's extremely. You got a lot of different standards involved and all that stuff. That's usually the most locked down version. The only other locked down version more than that would probably be like aviation. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's just that, like, you know, And I don't really have a lot of aviation experience. I have a lot of mates in the aviation industry, but I mean, I'm more medical, so I mean, I deal with FDA and ISO and whatnot.
Okay, and so, then on the complete other end of the spectrum, we have software development.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, I think software development is lacking structure.
Yeah, badly. Yeah. And it's sort of, I mean, we're all usually pretty grateful that our code works. All right, and people place all these extra expectations on it. We're just glad it runs.
But I mean, it's not even like the validation testing and all that stuff. I mean, it's just like there seems to be a severe lack of like stealing from other industries that have been doing things and learning and being able to like adapt those structures and implement them in a software environment.
Right.
To me, it wouldn't be any different. Like, I don't know why software gets a pass. It certainly doesn't get a pass in medical, by the way. Medical software is it's the long tent in the pole. Like, it gets stuff started first and it's last to be released. And it's the hardest to do because it has to be so reliable and so validated that it takes forever to get through all the code. So usually that would be the most highly structured version of a release system for software you would ever see as medical device manufacturing for code.
What I was hoping for us at the stage we're at now was simply something that I would expect more than one person to, like, at least one other person to have to say, yes, this is releasable.
That's right.
I would expect that there should also be a timeliness thing. So basically, like, one of the key things we're trying to extract from each other is objections or issues or thoughts or enhancements around anything that we submit, because it's also theoretical and prototypical. We kind of want that, but at the same time, we don't want to be held up waiting because, we get caught up in other things. So I would imagine it would be like, if it sits there for 3 days, you're good to merge. Otherwise, someone else needs to, at least, anyone can stop the production line or stop the publication. That's about it, really. I just want to avoid this thing of it. I started to notice it felt like we were pulling the rug out from each other unintentionally, but like changing concepts or names or things like that, when really what we should have done is had a proper debate about it. And I just want to stop that.
Yeah, well, I've approached that with Scott several times, but he wants to postpone that conversation. He seems to think that he wants the definitions structured first, and then what we call it is secondary to that. So that's why I haven't really pushed.
Right.
But
I
too would like the conversation with all of us involved, where we're going through and saying, hey, what is this thing? What are we doing? That kind of stuff. But I mean, it's with our schedules, it's been really rough. Like, I'm willing to try and at least carve out one day in the next week or so, where if we can get the timing right, me and Scott can have a conversation about the dictionary. But I mean, I didn't want to poke him because I know he's pretty busy trying to now backfill all that into Git. So
I imagine that using GitHub pull requests, it could allow us to do bulk rename proposals. So, for example, if you wanted to, when you rename one thing, you often need to rename several others to fit. So, using Git, we could like make a pull request that was like a batch of changes, and then that would be cause for debate. You're like, I want to change all these names. Let's either have a talk about it, or if the timer runs out, then the changes are default accepted and everyone's expected to use those terms now.
Well, I don't have any problem with that as long as we set the boundaries in the release conditions that makes sense for everybody involved. That would be fine.
Yeah, right. Like we're not. There's 4 of us.
You got one day, or else.
Yeah, and like pick a time zone hour that's like the most inconvenient to get your 3 days.
So I mean, if I'm reading you right, so you still want some versatility, right, in the system. You don't want it to be completely locked down. So in most production environments, what would happen is there's the prototype stage where you're kind of like mind mapping the whole project and trying to sort out, where this bolt goes into that sleeve and whether, this bearing's going to fit into this whatnot, right? So that you want as much leeway as possible in that stage, and that's usually the X stage, the prototype stage, or whatever they call it. Usually, I refer to the X release stage because you don't usually use the term X for releases. You usually just A, B, C, D, and you don't use like I and O and certain things that can be confused with 1 and 0 and that kind of stuff. So, but basically, what you do is you want to be in that prototype stage as much as possible before going to a pre-versioning or a pre-release stage. Pre-release stage would be where you got like more people involved. Usually, now there's some sort of I don't want to use access control necessarily, but usually there's somebody who's managing that project or a coordinator who's like going, oh well, that looks good to me. Here's my signature. So the engineer and then the coordinator would sign it, and that would become the pre-release.
Yeah. So we can like I don't want that, but I do want courtesy, a system that enforces some courtesy upon us all, because I feel like a bit of a dick when I go in and just change the website, but I'm like, well, it's kind of like I'm just
I don't think anybody cares right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know, but as things build upon it, people will start to care,
right.
And that's what I just want to catch. So I think all I'm really looking for is can we move everything to Git? Are there things that can't or shouldn't?
Well, I mean, again, it all depends on where you think that value lies. So as soon as you start moving things to Git, things become locked down a bit more.
Yeah.
Now we're in the pre-release version of things, not fully released, but pre-release, where now things are a little bit more formal, and you have to start coordinating a bit more, and you can't just comment on a doc whenever you want. You have to do pull requests and batches and stuff like that. So, I mean, that all you have to do is take that into account. That you lose time for that. There's more overhead, if you will, to make a change, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with overhead to make a change. Changes should be hard, but I think changes should only be hard if it's what you got is more of a release or pre-release version than just me having
all right. So where is the list of all the docs that we consider?
You mean the master document? So
no, there was an index I saw floating around.
Yeah, that's the. Let's see. Scott did an index. I'm not sure where he shoved it, but there is an index for
Dreamcatcher document index in the base of Dreamcatcher team folder.
Yeah. So I looked at that, and that's basically a master document list that you would see in any medical company. That's the beginning of it. And all he was doing was just kind of like carving out document numbers for these.
Right. So those, I think if anything matures enough to end up with its own document number, I think we should pull it into Git.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's an argument. Like, if you go out and get a part number, once you've got a part number, then you're going to make a document attached to it. So once you make a document attached to it, that's now you've said basically that you're ready to go into Git. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a perfectly valid Boolean decision to make for making sure that things go into Git. So you can have a document index and then say, hey, if your document's ready to be on this index, then you probably...
Yeah, I'm just sensitive that you felt that some of these documents were not yet ready for being...
Well, I was worried for Scott only because, like, if we start putting the dictionary to Git right now, where the status listed is without like more people's input, then the change that he might be more distracted with that than actually making the changes at the time. So that was my only concern.
So your concern was primarily for Scott's sanity.
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
He seems to have just run ahead and plowed headfirst into Git anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I can wait. There's nothing wrong with that. So I just wanted to make sure that, like, I was hoping that more of his time would be focused to actually rewriting some of the dictionary that he wanted to do,
rather than the migration of the dictionary.
Right. But if he saw value in doing both at the same time, then hey, more power to him. I don't know. I'm not in his shoes. I can't speak for him.
Okay. All right. So there's nothing happening there that you feel like you've been disadvantaged by those things being moved to Git now.
No, not at all. No.
Okay. All right. So we can go and ask him to go ahead and migrate all of the indexed documents then.
I think he's already started doing that, but.
Well, I was like, wait. Like, you can't just move shit without talking to the other people that have got something hanging in those documents.
Right. I mean, like I said, I'm pretty sure the smart license is one document I'm very happy to be in Git. Okay. The website starting up, what you're doing right now, all that work is definitely needs to get done in Git. I think that's pretty important stuff. Regardless of whether or not the information is right or wrong, it doesn't really matter to me as long as there's a framework there.
Right. I'm not concerned about the correctness of the content. Yep. I'm concerned that we have it stamped, locked. It's there. Changing it is now.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you. I think there's a lot of public-facing information that needs to get out there now. That's where I see the fire under my butt right now.
Yeah.
Because shortly people will become interested, and if we don't really have something that people can wander to and have a bit of a look at, then it kind of falls flat.
Yeah.
So I want something there to make it look like we're actually doing all the stuff that we're doing, like we're sitting on our butt. Like I want them to see that there's actually a lot of work being done, and that the document alone, that website alone, does about 90% of that. I think I'm hoping with the decks and other things, other information, I can like fill in another 5%. Of people's expectations.
Did you say the docs do about how much percent?
Right now, from what I've read about, it's doing about 90% of the public-facing information.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
so,
good.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I mean,
okay. All right. Well, I'll chat to Scott and be like, look, Troy's okay with moving all the index documents over to Git, and I'll retract my concerns from him, which was that, look, we just sort of like yanked the rug out from under each other's feet, but it turns out we all wanted that anyway, so let's
I don't see anybody saying no. So,
okay.
I was just highlighting concerns. Okay. I'm not saying that I'm concerned. I'm just saying that if you make these willing decisions, these are the pros and cons. That's it.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So what I'll do is I'll kind of start working on what I would consider a lightweight release procedure for decentralized blockchains. So like what that would look like, because pull requests would be proposals would be there's be some sort of vote involved in that, whether it be there might be some sort of quorum or critical mass to get it
talking about how it would work once we are operating on the blockchain?
Yeah.
That is.
I mean, even if we aren't doing it that way, I think that architecture, that infrastructure needs to be laid out somehow so that we have a little bit of a thought behind it. Because the sooner that we can start acting like it is decentralized, the sooner it will be decentralized in terms of other people's. As they come on and start onboarding.
Okay, well, I've got a plan around that includes a feature that is non-traditional.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
So, shall I sketch it out now, or should I?
I mean, we can both work in isolation and then come back and merge it, or you can, because. I don't think we're going to differ from too much. I mean, what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of trying to look through my old documentation and try, like I said, just make it very light.
I think we'll differ a lot because the key feature I want is one of the problems with software that I hate is the fact that the project owner or owners they set what release means. Whereas what it should be is the users set what release means.
No, that's exactly what I just said. I mean, if we have a quorum, so there's a critical mass of acceptance of something, that is released.
Right. So just to test that, under this model, you could argue that the project has no owner.
We still don't have any.
Like because for example, there's a bug that needs fixing. Some random person submits a patch. The owners or the people who started the project are all on holiday, and yet a release can still be published and into the main line because there was user acceptance.
Right.
Is that the model we're talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
No, I'm telling you, we're on the same page. So basically, all I'm saying is like, let's say someone, like in your scenario, someone finds a bug, someone writes a patch, submits that, and there's a quorum of individuals that are participants using the network saying, "Oh yeah, that's important," and they all say, "Yeah, whatever that mechanism is, right?"
Right, and then certain thresholds trigger the auto agents to auto accept, and then that adds further weight.
But I'm just saying that there needs to be a threshold, a critical mass, or a quorum of some type that says that once you reach critical mass, whatever that is, maybe some sort of percentage of the swarm,
right,
or the public chain, or validator nodes, or like a whole combination thereof. Once that gossip happens, and there's enough gossip happening, and there's like a decision being made in terms of like
you get avalanche. You get avalanche. Right. So that's what defines release, not some guy.
Right. Exactly. That's
perfect. Right. Okay. Perfect. So in addition to that, I would also hope to make a security type of service whereby people with reputation as security experts can stake funds against the bug-free nature of a particular release of a particular piece of software, whereby if a bug is found, they forfeit their stake, but while bugs are not found, they earn a small percentage.
What you're talking about is called a credit default swap.
I don't know what that is, sorry.
It's basically insurance. It's a bond. You're bonded. It's basically you're saying that I'm a bonded agent to this particular piece of code.
Yeah.
And if something's wrong, then that bond's paid out.
Wasn't that a subject of the Big Short movie?
Well, yeah, credit default swap. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Well, let's do that.
But the Big Short was that there wasn't any credit default swaps for housing in the U.S. and they made one up. But the caveat was that added more fuel to the fire, because the credit default swap in money, the money going into the credit default swap short, actually caused it to last a little longer, because those people then used that money they were getting to actually create other synthetic assets and other things which kept the game going and basically kept the balloon inflated a little bit longer than normal. So some of them almost went bankrupt waiting for that thing to go.
Fun times. So this pool, say for example, if you've got NPM, right, which is all the node modules in the universe sort of thing, a lot of them are open source. Like this version of NPM that I'd like us to run would basically put a firewall in front of every package, so that there was the project maintainer's release, but it didn't make it to mainline release until it had these triggers or these quorums that you speak of, which may include security experts staking on it, so that if you want to purchase.
Again, that would be a quality buy-in. So again, a major release in the company usually requires the quality department to sign off on it. So we can have a minor release within the department, between the department head and the engineer. But then if you want to go outside and start spending money and getting things in pre-development, then you need to go to quality. Quality would overlook it, and they would rubber stamp it, make sure that it does what it does and says what it does, and it's not going to kill anybody. And then we go to production line, where the production engineers take it over. So there's your firewall. Like once the production engineers take it over,
right. Because here, in open source software, there is no such firewall. It's just like the guy that made it just clicks go, and then that's it. So
I mean, because once production takes over, usually that's it. Like whoever designed it, whoever was R&D, that's it. You don't have any more input.
They don't get to fiddle with it anymore.
That's it, man. It's released in the wild, and if there's any changes to be made, it does go back to R&D. Like R&D usually is the ones that usually it comes from marketing. Marketing will find a feature that needs to be done, and then we relay it back to R&D. R&D would develop the feature, put in the next version, and it would be version 2 or whatever, and then version 2 would have that, then it would go to production, and production would take it over, and that cycle continues until Google is sick of it and closes the whole project. So yeah, I mean, everything that you're talking about is pretty much already captured in most release procedures in one way or another. So
yeah, but the openness of that security pool is different, I think, and the fact that there's a financial penalty against it. It's almost like a protocol, just like Uniswap has a protocol for liquidity providing. We're allowing security providers to provide liquidity to security pools. Users can buy pieces of it if they want peace of mind. That earns a fee for the stakers. But if the security turns out to be false, then the people who were buying the security get a large refund, something like that.
Well, I mean, the synthetics does something similar to that, where if you want to create a synthetic asset, you have to stake a whole bunch of tokens, like a 10 to 1 chain.
That type of thing, like collateral.
Yeah, so if you want something like, if you want to create a synthetic Bitcoin, you have to have 10 Bitcoins for every one synthetic that you manufacture or mint on their site. So you have to pull up a whole lot of money backing this stuff.
Yeah, so I guess I just want a protocol that decouples the people that write the code from the people that say that it's okay, and that people who consume the code would pay for that combined service, because the protocol can present it as one thing. Actually, it's made up of many independent peers, all with their different incentives competing to form a structure that is valuable as a whole.
I guess we should probably talk about whether or not are we referring to core critical to function applications, or are we talking about other stuff in general?
Our critical to function applications would run on the same process that we would expect anyone else publishing a project to run on.
Okay, I guess what I'm saying is that, all right, so we as a group can have a consensus that says that we're going to make sure that we run on this protocol, which has these certain gates in it, and we're happy with that. Yep. I'm just saying that other people may not want to run on that fork, and they may want to do their own fork. They absolutely
can do whatever they want.
Right.
I mean, that's basically
I'm just saying for anybody who might be listening. So basically, what we're saying is that if you wouldn't have a little tick mark next to your name, so to speak, if you ran on your own version.
Well, you in our app store, which is sort of where I wouldn't call it the power, but the thing that we're trying to build is reputation for our particular app store. Anyone can make an app store. The app store is an application in the app store, so you can run it and make your own one, no problem. But on our one that I would stand behind, has that quality assurance procedure behind it, and you need to pay to be able to. Basically, you're not really paying for the app as such. You're paying for the insurance that the app does what it says on the label. And if you didn't pay it, you can still run it, but no one, if your log4j takes over your server, we're sorry, but we're not going to pay you anything for it. Whereas,
understood. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, just again, it's a fork that would show up on their app store. Would be different.
Right. So I guess I think to answer what I think you're asking is that the protocol allows anyone to do any kind of release anywhere, but the protocol also allows that if you want to, you can start to build a brand or a reputation around your particular collection of assets that is gated in a way that you are free to define. And then separate to that, I was talking about the gated system that I want for us, because quality of code is like, I want us to be known as the quality code app store blockchain thing people.
Right. Yep. No, I understand. Yep.
Cool. Credit default swaps and the pending crash of software security. What now?
This is your meeting, man. Up to you.
Shall we go over that deck?
Yeah, we can do that. I haven't read your comments yet, but I will after this call.
Who is the, like, looks awesome, and for starters, and made me want to spend money. I didn't even need to go through the whole thing. I was like, I just feel like I want to I just want to be part of this.
That was number one. That was
but I wanted to ask some questions, like who is the audience of this?
All right, so this would be a general deck. So what I'm looking for is a deck template that is the end-all be-all of decks that we can then go in and edit for audience.
Right, so depending on the audience, you modify the deck with different slides and you rearrange and jig it, but this is like this would be the shelf.
The one-stop shop for decks. So
okay, great.
I just wanted to make it so that people could just come and pick and choose what they wanted, depending on who they're talking to or what's going on or how they want to convey information. I just want to make sure that everybody had a slide and some input in terms of like what it is they wanted to communicate, what they thought was very important about the project, what I may be missing, when I'm, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was just that's all this was about, basically.
Okay, that is awesome.
A lot of this stuff doesn't translate very well. That sucks. All right, I have to figure out something that.
How important do you think it is that we don't really talk about blockchain in this deck? How important is it to talk about that?
It's very important. That's why I left a slide there for you, because I am not the SME for that. So
that's slide 9.
Yeah. So basically, this was just a placeholder for now until I got your input or you started making edits as to what you thought was the most important parts. At a high level.
I saw the red note and was like, great, I'll just start typing here.
Yeah, no, that's fine. This is your playground. You can do whatever you want. Like if things don't look right, then we just move them around,
okay,
and whatnot.
So
like I suspect that the evidence stack, those slides, license stack, that kind of stuff. Man, some of this stuff just wasn't really gnarly. It really looks so great in PowerPoint, but on here it just looks like complete crap.
Formatted better, yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm pretty sure some of that stuff is going to be more Scott's bailiwick. He's going to be really keen on looking at some of these other things, like mediation, stuff like that we talked to you. Then we come back down to contribution. This is probably more of you as well, how you see some of this stuff fitting in. Then these use cases, I've only put a couple in here, but I'm pretty sure there's more that we probably need to, that we'd actually find as being highly important to what you guys have been either thinking or working on or whatnot. So, and then we come down to roadmap. I just put in a general roadmap for now that we can.
I'm just kind of longing for a way to get across the point that like the whole thing's blockchain. It's not like all the projects I see that are like blockchain projects. It's like it's a bunch of servers that you control that then sort of talk to this blockchain that's decentralized. You know, sure, it's a genuine blockchain, but you know, the ratio of blockchain to app, it's like 90% conventional app. It's 90% Web 2.0, 10% blockchain, and that's what is expected as this is what a project is.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I agree with all that. Like, I'm not sure how to convey that right now at a high level.
I mean, if we said that Dreamcatcher was like layer 1, that would probably get that point across, right? Like, we're actually trying to make, like, I know that we think about Dreamcatcher as sitting on top of this blockchain protocol, but the point...
I have it the other way around for me. It's usually this the substrate is the thing that everything sits on, in my mind.
Okay, well,
like,
great. Well, that's how I want it to be presented,
yeah, so
right?
I mean,
but that makes it layer 1.
I don't know. To me, it's layer 0, but okay.
Okay. Well, layer...
like, it's the base layer for everything that sits on it. Like, it would be like saying for me, like, you know, Windows is layer 2 because really it's the layer 1 is DOS, right? Or layer 0 is DOS. It still runs on DOS.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, it's still command line, right? So that's layer 0, the command line. It's still there. Like, everything is really running in the command line. The GUI is just layer 1, right? In my mind.
Right.
So. In Dreamcatcher, the same sort of scenario would be that the Dreamcatcher itself, the protocol is layer 0.
Yeah, so we want to actually talk about the Dreamcatcher as being a pure blockchain. It's not. Yeah. It's not built on top of one. It is one.
Right. It is the blockchain. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I could make a different slide for that if you want.
Yeah, it's just I just don't know how to say it. Like, I mean, because like I really like that you said a bunch of things that we have not been able to say clearly, and you came at it from a different angle to us, and I think it works. It's a great angle. The three, you know, the primitives, the primitives are, you know, we get too tangled up in the blockchain piece, but I just wonder if the whole damn thing all as one is a bit too big, like the actual thing that we're trying to do.
What do you mean too big?
Is it wrong to say that to explain the Dreamcatcher to someone, I would need to explain how the blockchain piece works?
No, I don't think so. Not necessarily, no. I mean, we should be able to use metaphors and symbols and images to convey what we think it represents to us, and hopefully that conveys it to someone else, the importance of it. You know, so I mean, certain things, imagery that comes to mind right now is like a pyramid, where we show like the pyramid, the very base of the pyramid being layer 0, which is the Dreamcatcher substrate.
Yeah, okay, I see you. Right. So, and then there's no indication in here of what the ecosystem might look like populated by a bunch of projects.
Yep, that's on purpose. But yeah.
Oh, okay. What was the purpose?
Well, because I thought it's getting too detailed. Like, I wanted this to be a vertical slice of a very high level concepts that we're trying to get across.
Okay, I see.
And then not go into nitty gritty. Like, if you want to go into nitty gritty, click here kind of situation.
Yeah.
So take them to, like, if you want to go to use cases where it's really
right.
Then here, click on this. It's a white paper for this, or
okay, that's cool.
You know, so,
it does not mention the tradability of the NFAs.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't. Yeah.
Was that on purpose, or?
Yeah. So basically, down here on slide 19 would be the NFAs.
Yeah.
And like immediately, we would need a trading
There's a trading floor. There's an exchange in it, which feels important to a newcomer because it's like
I haven't because I'm still working on the economics. so I thought, well, there'd be dragons because of the token, and I didn't want to start mentioning tokens and everything yet. So
tokens and security, but you kind of.
So I wanted to.
You put the can opener on the can when you said NFA.
So, I know. So basically, I wanted to try and come at it more of a, try to keep it very simple, where we're showing the NFA as a tradable asset, and we have the Joule units, which is the contribution attribution mechanism. But I haven't been able to come up with a slide simple enough that would show what trading looks like yet. So
right.
Well, I took that off for now, only because I was like, I had to put that in the too hard category because I've been literally racking my brain and hitting it against the wall.
Look, I can see. Scott and I have tried. We've made so many decks. It's not even funny. We know very well how hard it is to think up some of these things, and in terms of effort, like this deck must have taken weeks of effort. Like that's
a week, yeah. So that, yeah,
like that's some hard thinking that's gone in there.
Yeah.
What did on slide 21? What did the Venn diagram / MasterCard logo mean?
I don't know yet. I think that's where we're going to have to talk about tradables and whatnot. So there has to be that slide somewhere between. So the slide 19 says you mint it. Slide 20 would be trading it. Slide 21 would be capturing real world assets in the DCM.
Right.
And then use cases would be the actual mechanism where you're buying and selling and trading this sort of stuff. Like the middle would probably be the AMM. So.
Okay.
So
this looks really good. I just I guess I just got to get my head around it. Like it's a way simpler way of talking about it.
Right. I'm trying to do the cartoon version. Explain it to me like I'm 5, sort of. What sort of version it is.
Yeah. It's interesting that those 3 pillars came out that way. Like I can't find anything wrong with that, and I've been thinking about it a couple since you posted the deck.
I'm trying to make it look like a Dreamcatcher as well.
I know, that was not lost on me. That was very difficult to turn your logo into also your business model. Very few companies do that, by the way. MasterCard did it.
So what I'll do is I'm going to email you the original version, because this just absolutely, Google Docs just completely trashed and just spit all over it. So, because it's a lot of fidelity's gone from.
Oh shit! Okay.
And so what I'll do is try and get it so that you can actually work on it too. And then you give me better.
I don't have Microsoft PowerPoint, so I can only work on it in Google Slides.
Well, what I'll do is I'll make the PDF of it, and I'll put the PDF in here, so that way you can see the fidelity.
Hopefully I see. Okay, that would be great. Yeah, that would be great.
Let me just make sure everything is here.
Now look. Every couple of days, I think I have a new slogan for the Dreamcatcher. What that says to me is that, first of all, I don't know what the slogan should be, and second of all, there may not be one, and it may depend on who you're talking to. I am not one to easily surrender to ambiguity or unknowability, but there are certain classes of thing that are difficult to observe as one, such as those optical illusions, like you see a box drawn, and it's depending on what your eye sees, it's either like you're underneath it or you're on top of it, but you can't see them both at the same time. And so, and so it may be that the Dreamcatcher has some properties of being difficult to see all at once by anyone. You can just look at it from different angles and it looks like a different thing. You know it fits together and it is one thing, but the complete thing may be difficult. So that seems to become most apparent when you try to come up with a slogan for it. You either end up running over your character limit or missing a big chunk of it. So what I tried to do was see, because you've come up with three new slogans here. One I particularly like, which is the peer-to-peer attribution engine. But what I was proposing was that I got a document going in the website that lists slogans so that we can all sort of try and chuck them in there. I think it's important that we pick one. There's a lot that it could be. And like everyone will have a problem with it no matter what it is. But
so hey, click on the Dreamcatcher media deck template PDF. So I put in there it's
in the drive.
So at the top it should be. I just dropped it in there.
Decks PDF. Okay, got it.
All right, so when I was talking about fidelity, like go down to start looking towards the middle. You'll see a lot of things are like more of a 3D stack sort of thing.
Oh yeah, with shading and stuff. Oh yeah, the evidence stack is like actual blocks. Oh, the license stack actually has occlusion. Ooh, the license stack as a 3D. Wow. I see what you mean.
I would make another slide like this with a pyramid to show layer 0, 1, 2, App Store, stuff like that.
Right. So, okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. You lost a lot of panache.
Yeah. Things just got flattened. I don't know how, but they got flattened. I don't know why that happened, but so that was what it was supposed to look like.
Okay.
And I don't know why. And I don't know what Google Docs does to it, but some sort of compression algorithm just completely chewed it up.
It's weird though. It's like it had to think about it.
Like I don't like this. Go screw yourself. Anyways. So I like the logo idea. I like we can just drop a bunch of different ideas in that document and just have a bit of a hash about it.
Because I really just want like a headline and a tweet, which is under 160 characters. I mean, you're saying a third way, unleashing, harnessing the raw power of creativity. These are all things that you could literally think of hundreds of them.
Yeah, well, this is why marketing companies get paid megabucks, man. So, I mean, it's not easy. See what I'm saying? I mean, I think we just drop a bunch of these in the document and just say, hey, what do we think? Everybody have a bit of a vote and then just go with that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's imagine that we had the Dreamcatcher and we were using it right now. What would it look like if there was a theoretical split between us in direction? I don't know what the difference would be because I don't believe that we've found a strong difference between what all four of us think yet. But if we were to imagine some kind of conflict in the model of project management, what would that look like?
It would look like a fork.
But the Dreamcatcher is layer 0 to all the projects that would sit on top of it.
So I mean that's still a fork. So I guess I'm not seeing the problem. So
would a project on let's say Dreamcatcher A be accessible to a project on Dreamcatcher B?
Oh, okay. So in my mind, it wasn't A or B. It was just we're all on A, and I made A1. I went to A1 because I disagreed with something.
Okay.
So I'm still using the public relay chain. I'm still, I'm still on the swarm. I just have a different particular idea for this way to go, and I fork it for this particular reason, for a very, very, very specific reason, like because I want to use the color blue instead of purple or something.
Yeah. So how can we, in that multipath collaboration piece, the value that I see in that model is the fact that when you fork for your disagreements, it's the disagreements themselves that have become supremely obvious, as opposed to the way projects run now. You have a relatively minor disagreement, you fork, you start a new company, you look totally different. There's no structural sharing between the two companies, and that's a huge waste of energy. How can we highlight that that's sort of one of the goals of the Dreamcatcher, is to structural sharing between forks?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I was wrong, but I saw that as being fundamental to the Dreamcatcher.
It is.
Right, so that you're always bound by the layer 0 protocol. I mean, even if you go and do your own little project on it, like to me, like let's say we have the project folder where we have 8 different projects in there, but they're all run on the Dreamcatcher. They can all share information in my mind, but they have different goals and values and stakeholders, and like just because of that doesn't mean that they can't communicate with each other on the blockchain. I mean, I don't see why that would be. Yep. Why is that a firewall necessarily? Like, I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yep. No, you're right. That's not a problem. I retract thinking. I thought that was a problem. Talking with you now, it's not. The feature that I want to highlight on slide 9 or a slide like it is how similar things are when you fork. Like this, the Dreamcatcher lets you effectively fork a company just because you don't like the hair color of the person who's kind of in charge.
Well, yeah, but I mean, theoretically, with using your analogy, it would look different. Somebody might want to do a different client with a different GUI, and theoretically that would be a fork, but it would look and act different, but it would still interact with the main chain the same way. The thing underneath it, the engine, so the car body and the paint would be different, but the engine would still be the same. That would be the fundamental part, right?
Yeah. But how do we highlight that as a useful feature? The fact that the wasted effort is removed by having that ability to use the same car body and the same car engine.
Well, it's efficient. It's efficiency. That's what we're talking about. It's like you don't have to think about, like, let's say you want to make a DAO, for a flash DAO for a specific cause because you want to go out and buy a certain bunny rabbit, and it's just like it would be just similar to GoFundMe, right? So, hey, help me buy this rabbit. I'm getting auctioned off, whatever, and I need a flash DAO to help do it. And this flash DAO would only be a single purpose, just to buy this bunny rabbit. And then once you buy it, then the DAO gets collapsed, and
right.
That's it.
Right. So it's got a end condition.
Right. So we're the substrate website. We're the eBay. We're the GoFundMe. We're everything to the world. We're whatever it is you want it to be. You're basically spinning up your own website, so to speak.
Right.
Blockchain website, and you've already got the engine, protocols, standardizations, and everything else.
Right. And so I guess the struggle for us is going to be, if someone tries to fork the main protocol, we need to be very, very accepting of changes that are actually better for these goals that we have, and merge them back in so that we actually stay compatible with any meaningful forks.
Right. I mean, but if somebody wants to go through all that to fork it, then, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not necessarily we'd be aware of it, but I'm pretty sure we'd be wanting to see what they're doing and why.
Well, you'd want to see why people were going there as opposed to us.
Well, I mean, someone could be forking it just to be a malicious actor. I don't know. Like, I'm just,
right.
you know.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, there seems to be an awful lot of work to try and fork the entire blockchain just because you want yours pink, right? So, I mean, like there had to be a huge reason for that.
Yeah, right. And I mean, like, we're not charging you for it, so like, just use the same code. Like, I guess the only thing we're ever asking is please stay compatible with the core protocol. You can do anything you like, but please stay compatible.
Right. Right. I mean, but I don't know why somebody would want to spin off and just not be compatible unless they're malicious or have alternative motives.
Or they have a performance advantage that we should be copying.
Yeah, but I mean, I can see a dark market, completely dark web version of Dreamcatcher where it's just they're dark not because they're necessarily evil,
like
but
a really bad version that's like only bad stuff comes here.
No, not that. I don't mean dark isn't bad. I mean dark isn't like they're not transparent to us. They're not communicating. They're
right. But they would need to be transparent to someone, right? To their members, yeah.
Right.
Like I guess we're predicating a lot of our gamble on the fact that humans have decided or recognized that they must have transparency in the way that they do their work, or like something fundamental. Like humans are never going to accept less transparency from here on in. Like we can see that we can have it, we can see that it's better, we're going to get it.
Right. Well, that zeitgeist has been cast. It's now out of the hands of capital. Like they can't take that genie and put it back in the ball.
Take it back and be like, sorry, our mistake.
I mean, Mark Zuckerberg's trying to do it with Meta, but I think that's going to be an epic fail because he doesn't understand what Meta is yet. And neither does about 98% of people who say the word Meta. I mean, he didn't even understand what Facebook was. How is he going to understand what Meta is? He doesn't to this day, he has no idea that, Facebook is a right-wing propaganda arm of the U.S. government, and that's just the way it is. Like, it's going to be like that for all time. That's why they had when the Republicans went to Silicon Valley and they had that coming to Jesus conversation with him, they all left very happy. There's only one reason why all the Republicans would be very happy after having talked with Mark Zuckerberg, and that was he agreed that this is going to be very pro-Republican. And, but then again, everyone else will say, well, not in my universe. My universe is pro-Democrat. Well, I'm like, yeah, but that's by design. That you are siloed and you don't know it. Yeah. That is the design of Facebook is to silo you into a tiny pigeonhole.
Yeah. It's a silo.
And be as untransparent as possible about it.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, in terms of the Dreamcatcher, we could certainly talk about. I tried to do it in that one slide, but
which one?
I was one with the arrow. I was trying to show that there's viable paths to forking. You know what I mean? So, but I wasn't sure what languages that we want to talk about here, and how there's always going to be this main base layer always moving forward, right? That's the core chain. But you can do your own projects, but you'd still be able to talk and relate your information and validation through the core public chain.
There is not a main chain. There is a main swarm.
Yeah, I know that, but that gets really in terms of trying to cut that down into digestible bytes for someone to.
Yeah, I know, right? It's almost like the lie that you have, or the inaccuracy you have to accept to actually fit through the doorway. One of the things I was thinking about is making a 3D model of a swarm and then make a cut through it, and then that would be the slice, and then you look at that slice and you would see this particular slide where you'd see the forks, right? Yes, if I just hold my nose and squint, I could look at the swarm as a single chain.
Yeah. Well, it would be the same. Again, it would be like back to that hologram conversation we were having about how, if I'm on my chain but I can still see a vector to somebody else's chain via the validators, then I can still have a conversation with that person. Maybe I don't really care to have a conversation with that person, but I still could have a conversation with that chain. If I can still get there. right? Because I can still do a query, I can still do a search, because that's what, I mean, when you get the Swarm,
okay. So you could just loosen the definition of what one chain means to be like, well, you're technically one chain if you can access the information in the other person's chain.
Right. I mean, one chain being, from your perspective, that's the only important thing. The only really important chain is your chain, right? The chain that you're on. You don't really care about other people's chains unless you need to interact with them, right?
Your chain plus its connections to the other chains is your worldview. And that can be represented as a single chain, or is represented as a single chain. It just so happens that we allow multiple worldviews. We don't need to publicize that. Right. I mean, I just didn't know how to put that into a one slide. Okay. So, I mean, we can come up with a way where, again, I show like this really high level structure with the swarm, and then say you are here, and then that line is this forward right here. Okay. So how would you envisage this deck being tested, and on whom? Like, who is the first target?
So first target, I would think would be, well, it's a twofold. First target would be both investors and media, right? So the audience would be, the first audience would be, hey, here's a high level version of what this is, Mr. Investors or Mrs. Investors. And by the way, if you want the nitty gritty, here's more of the actual economics of what we're proposing in terms of how you can be involved. That would be the next slide. But that would be their deck, right? That would be the actual physical deck that I drew up for how we interact with investors. That would be for them. The media would be, they would look at this and go, oh yeah, okay, I can see a little bit of what's going on here and there, and they're more interested in, they can click through to some things that they're more interested in, but hopefully this would be enough for them to get interested into what we're trying to build. So that's kind of a twofold thing. And then anybody who happens to come across the website, like, just randoms, so, so like, how do we explain this to someone out the street who might have a passing knowledge of blockchain technology and or in the crypto space, but wants to know more about this specific project? Well, this might be a gateway for that. So, again, it's all gateway stuff. This hopefully this whets the appetite enough so they can actually go and start looking through white papers and looking through architecture stuff, or even through the GitHub. See, I found that, I mean, just doing a lot of market surveillance, and I found that lacking a lot of programs. A lot of blockchain protocols, man, they in terms of documentation, they just suck. They just like everything's written for, hey, you're a code monkey. Here's all the stuff you need for writing code for our blockchain. It's like, no, dude. I mean, you don't have anything here for if you're an investor. You don't have anything here if you're just a
the general public moving around the place, possible investors, just
nobody's writing stuff for different audiences. They're writing for everything like as if everybody's a developer. Like, dude, no, that's just wrong. No, not everybody's a developer, man.
Right.
Not everybody's interested in developing on your blockchain. Some people want to know more about the project so that whether or not they're going to invest in it or not, buy the coin or the token or vote in their DAO or like, and they don't explain that very well at all, and they spend millions and millions of dollars on marketing, and it's just this seems like fluff and not substance, So yeah, that's my method of the madness. This is why I'm doing this.
Okay. So where are we trying to get to?
Where are we trying to get to? We're just trying to get to a reasonable state of information. It doesn't have to be completely accurate or 100% done. It just needs to be like you, myself, Scott, and anybody else who's interested in it can look at this and go, yeah, that's pretty much where we're at.
That's pretty much.
It's not 100%, but it's there. It's enough,
That's the feeling I get when I look at this deck. I'm like, I like it. It's not 100%, but I'll tell you what, I couldn't exactly tell you what's wrong about it. So
that's enough. That's enough for now. We don't, because I don't need perfection. We don't want perfection.
No, and I can absolutely say that a passerby who wasn't in the weeds like we are, I would be happy if they walked away with the impression they got from this deck. I'd be like, everything was there. It wasn't wrong. If you wanted more precision, you need to work for it.
Yeah, so I mean, this conversation's highlighted a few gaps that I think we need to illustrate. But other than that, I think it's.
It's just, I mean, in terms of like, you know, slides on target versus not, I'm like, that's pretty amazing, actually. What's most amazing is that I had nothing to do with it.
Well, that's by design, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a way like, if I can't understand this stuff and put it into a slideshow and make it so that people like yourself can grasp it, then I'm having issues and I need to go back and have a bit of a read. But if I can write this and you are saying, and you're nodding your head while you're reading it, then I'm reading it too, so that's good.
Yeah, I'm like, this is great. Like, I'm like, when can we send it to people? I mean, like,
tomorrow, I don't care. Like, it just needs to get edited is all. It just needs. I can't have like 80 different front pages and 90 different endings. So
yeah, I know, right? So, yeah, like a choose your own story, multi-path story thing.
I mean, I think I want Scott's input big time. You know, and Ben wants to get on board and what he wants to say.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure he's got some sort of engagement, if he cares or not. I mean, if he doesn't care, that's fine. But if he does, then I certainly want his voice.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, shall we? How much more time have you got?
What do you mean?
Now on this call.
Got all day, man.
All day. Oh shit! If only I remember those days. Shall we touch on the Shall we touch on the funding deck?
Yeah. Let me just into it.
There was also like a really big document that you'd made that was like a model of the dictionary in a way.
Yeah, that's the requirements document.
Is that, do you want...
No, not yet. No. That's just... That's
I read it and I was like, I don't know if that all fits in my head.
No, so that's okay. So basically, that's a placeholder document now. That's okay. All that is.
Okay. All right.
Me making sure that the scaffolding is there, so when I go back and backfill it with when we're happy with dictionaries and licenses and constitutions and and vision statements or whatnot, like when we're happy with all that, I'll go back and fill the requirements document back with all that information that we need at a high level, and then make sure that the requirements that you and Ben are also looking at are in there as well, like actual specific requirements, like functionality. And that's kind of when I'm going to need you to get involved. That's about it. That's it, though. That's when we actually are looking at proper code functionality. Like, hey, we have to have an asset function that transfers. And so asset function transfers, and what that does, it transfers function via blah blah blah. That's when I need to get that stuff in.
Okay.
And
cool.
So.
And the utility token matrix deck, is that
utility token matrix deck I haven't looked at that in a while, but that was just there for your. You asked me for a static model of what a token forces are, so like what equilibrium would look like, and that's what that is for now.
That is what that is. Yeah, that is.
Yes. Yeah. So you asked for a static diagram of funding or for a token. Like what all the different forces and interactions would be for a token or a jewel or whatever the unit is in the Dreamcatcher. Those are all the different
requirements. I did ask for
requirements.
That, and that is definitely what this is, and now I don't know what to do next.
Right, so that's where that is. I'm going to get back. I'm going to circle back to it, but not for now. I thought there was other things that are more important.
Because I guess our currency is interesting in that I don't think we want to try and tap any of it for funding purposes. Like,
no, absolutely not. The utility token inside the Dreamcatcher is not for investing.
It's not for it. It's not stock dressed up as utility. It's like it is genuine.
It's a pure currency.
Yeah.
Pure.
Yeah.
Pure. 100% pure. But this is where this diagram comes from. Like it's the most purest form of that currency. I think at the very end of the thing, I wrote down the requirements for like what pure currency would be from a monetary and fiscal and all the other different policies that we have to implement. So that token, although it would be traded through an AMM, it shouldn't be something that people would hoard.
No. Now, I envisage there will be a Dreamcatcher project that is charged with building the token, and the token will pay attribution to that project and all the others that it depends upon, but that does not mean that is not the same as tapping into the token supply to fund anything at all. That's very different, I think.
Right.
Is that allowed in your mental model of this currency?
That would be the model of the currency.
Model. Okay, great. Perfect.
Right. So all like on the front page, all that stuff is basically the inputs and outputs that would make it so that this is a stable unit of Joule. You know what I mean?
It's not a unit of Joule. It's the standard unit of purchasing a Joule where the Joule price changes.
No, I mean, I'm just saying that it's like, so all the feedback loops, all the inputs and outputs, everything that we would have to take into account to make sure that there's a unit called a Joule and how that would interact with the system.
Okay, a unit called the Joule and a currency called the inversion or whatever we end up calling it.
Correct.
Those two things are different.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, perfect.
That absolutely, they're different. But this just basically talks about like a simple token. Like, so if you were to deploy a token, you supply that token and how it would affect the tokenomics within the system.
This is okay. So I think in a way what this deck asks for is more specification around the currency mechanics. Correct. Okay, can I add some things to this deck?
You can do what you want, man. It's your deck. It's there for you, man. I was just mind mapping things that we have to consider. So I'm just saying that everything has to be considered, but it doesn't have to be implemented necessarily.
I see now what you mean. There is a lot here that I hadn't considered, and it's really nice to see it in a single spot. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, that's sure, it's a large number of hard things, but that is what we have to ring fence or handle to be a functioning currency. So it is really helpful to see it in one place like that.
And that's all this is. It's just like a document to say, hey, behavioral economics, we have to consider it. What are certain things, aspects of behavioral economics that may happen on the network? Well, there might be some bad actors, might be this and that. We can mitigate for some we can't, and that's okay.
Where's the area that deals with the goals of the currency to ultimately be leveraged against the price of computation?
It's not here yet. That's not what this is yet.
Oh, okay.
That comes later.
Okay.
These are the things that we have to think about when we're going into those two items that you just said.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Right. So how all those interactions are going to apply when we have A and B in the system having a feedback loop, and then making sure that somehow A, that doesn't get out of control, and B,
do you want to start putting some of these decks into the website so that they can be downloadable? Because it's Docs is great, but it doesn't, like, it's hard for us to track the attribution elements. You know what I mean? Like if it's in Git, then it's easy for us to retrofit in the very early days of the Dreamcatcher, retrofit how the attribution flows for these decks, for example. Whereas in Google Docs, it's less. I don't know. The effort to do that in Google Docs is going to be more than to do it in Git, and so naturally, that attribution model will come later. So,
right.
So it would be, I guess, it would be nice to get some of these decks that you've made into Git so that they are at least time-stamped, locked, hashed, and it's like Troy did that.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I'm just, again, some of the stuff isn't really ready for prime time, but yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, I don't think it matters so much being ready for prime time. I just want to get it into a repo somewhere so that
Yeah.
it has proof of existence.
Well, I exist, so that's enough for now. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
But yeah, like it's good. That's really useful. That token
Okay.
matrix. So funding then.
Funding.
I didn't. I think. Are you talking about like how do we make this model fit NFAs?
Right. Okay. So the idea, right, was that there was seed funding, right, that kind of like helps
Yeah.
get the foundation or trust or whatever whatever economic model we want to call it.
I mean, I think that to raise money from people, it needs to go into a limited liability company so that those investors have rights. And we need to make some assurances to that company so that they have the legal system to make sure we do what we said we would.
But that also ties back. I also saw that as a pathway to us as well with the Dreamcatcher license protocol as well. So Scott is he's like, how do we get this into the real world? How do we get these Dreamcatcher licenses into the real world, right? And for us core people that are working on this, who are actually on the ground floor, I don't think we need to be into the Dreamcatcher itself. We can do this via the LLC. Right? If we all sign the documents and we all say we're all part of the LLC.
Oh, so you're talking about using the DPL documents in paper form to form the LLC.
Yeah, that informs the LLC. So we can actually put it on the Dreamcatcher, and that would inform the Dreamcatcher. But then also we put the document in the LLC as well and give it some teeth.
Which would mean that we could launch the LLC and fund it before we had the working Dreamcatcher code.
Correct. That's right.
Okay, but it remains compatible. It's almost like future compatible for when the code's running.
So basically, I'm trying to cold start a seed fund, right? So we need a starter. Like, we don't have a starter motor yet, so this is a funding model to get a starter motor going, where we can actually start the Dreamcatcher engine. But this would be the engine before the engine, if you will.
Yeah, the like that turbine in the back of an airplane.
Right, exactly. Right.
Okay, so the seed funding comes into an LLC.
Right. But okay, so now the important bit is it's a SAFT document. It's not a promise of it's a promise of a token. It's not tokens, right?
I think that's the part where the only thing that we can promise is NFAs. But we don't know what those NFAs are.
So you can take the word token and say NFA. But what I'm saying is that if somebody comes off the street and says, I want to invest in this, there's three pathways right now. If you give us liquidity, you're a liquidity provider, but you do not get a vote. You just get a promise of ROI on some NFAs that we develop.
Right.
So you would get a little piece of that. So there would be a pool, or the treasury pool, and then you'd get like 65% of your liquidity would be paid per year, and then you can just let it sit there, and then that means you're a stakeholder.
Right.
But you're not a DAO participant, right? Yep. The DAO participants would be people who we give the token or NFA to, the promissory note. They get a promissory note of an NFA. And that promissory note translates to a certain vote share on a DAO.
Ooh, that's the bit that seems weird. What is the DAO voting on? Okay,
now what is the DAO voting on? All right, so let me get to that. So basically, there's liquidity providers, and then there's tokenized NFT holders. The NFT holder being the NFA share per person. So let's say there's like 1 million NFAs. And then this person A has like 1,000 of them. They would have 1,000 NFA stake in the DAO, right?
Okay. Oh, okay.
All right.
So the DAO counts votes by how
Not yet.
many NFAs you
Not
hold.
necessarily. Not yet. I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Okay. So that NFA transaction, you can either do one of two things. Again, you can either sit on it or trade it on the Dreamcatcher at some later date, or you can trade that for governance tokens, which then gives you the right to vote on the DAO, right?
Okay.
And there would be some sort of like 1,000 NFAs equals like 2 votes or something. I don't know what that would be. We'd have to work out that one. Now, the reason for all this is I'm trying to create certain firewalls against everything because we want to skirt around securities laws. We don't want to say that NFAs are securities and vice versa, because if you invest in this, you get an NFA, and the NFA is a security, then the SEC and a few other federal regulators around the world will come down on us. So we can't promise it. All you can say is that you have an NFA.
What's wrong with registering as securities?
I'm not saying we can't. I'm just saying that it's without regulation, it's not a clear pathway yet.
Okay.
This is the clear pathway. This is the way that a lot of people are doing it right now that is regulated. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So a SAT document is the most regulated way a crypto company, LLC, can actually exist and not get in trouble with any regulatory body around the world right now. Right. So that's all I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to create layers of protection against anybody coming after us, and or vice versa.
Okay.
Right.
Can I try and explain how I think this model can work?
Yeah. But you asked one question, so I wanted to get to that. How does the DAO vote do anything? The DAO vote, what that would do is the DAO votes. The proposals come up for critical to function work on the core protocol. The DAO votes on that as a quorum.
Oh, right. So you're talking about the votes for like which NFAs should we seed?
Right. Exactly.
How much should we put into this one?
Right. What projects? Who's going to do an AMM? Who's going to do this? Or who's going to do that? Those decisions would be run through the DAO via quorum vote or whatnot. So. And that funding, that treasury funding, would go to those projects through the firewall.
Okay, so if I'm an investor that invested in the LLC, would I have a DAO vote?
No. You have a promise of an NFA. You can take that promise and you can trade it for DAO tokens if you want, or whatever that we call that.
Okay.
Right. And so a liquidity provider could also trade in their liquidity shares for a DAO vote as well. If they had enough liquidity, they could hit a certain threshold, and they too could.
Does not an NFA being traded by this liquidity provider appear to be a security?
No, because you're just voting on funding. There's no promise that you're going to get a return. It's just that you just want to participate. There may be a return, but it's not guaranteed. It's just basically saying that any return would be, first of all, the funding is a loan. It goes to the project. The project has to repay that loan. It would be like a flash loan, but longer. So not flash loan.
Not so
that flash loan. So the whoever accepts the project funding would be in that smart contract would say that you have to repay this. And that's
yeah, but it's not. You're not repaying it with cash. You may be a portion of the NFAs you generate are due to. Okay, all right. So there's some governance mechanism that controls the negotiation with the people who will do the work for what work is to be done and paid for in advance by the DAO.
Yep.
How much the attribution or how much percentage of the generated NFAs are going to be owned by the DAO in exchange for the risk they took by pre-funding.
Correct.
And
and by the way, that money can have expiration date as well. There's no reason why the DAO would have to control that attribution forever.
From the point where they are the DAO vote entity is starting to act exactly like a Dreamcatcher project interacting with the Dreamcatcher by the Dreamcatcher rules alone.
That's why I said it's a pre-engine. It's like the turbine that starts the plane. Right. You're right. It is.
Okay.
That's the idea.
I like that model. The SAFT, I forget what that stands for. It's like security against future tokens or something.
Yeah.
I think that the stage that gets you from LLC to DAO vote can be reduced. For example, if you make the LLC, you say the investors come in, for every dollar you put in, you're going to get one share of the LLC. One share equals one vote. And, for starters, the group of management, the people that started the LLC, are going to have, they vote, but the shareholders can use their votes to overrule them or something. But I guess it doesn't matter what that mechanism is to the argument I'm trying to make. But basically, you end up with a company that has some money in it, and it has straight away, the shareholders have the security over the company. The company then, using this DAO vote mechanism, however that may be, weighted or whoever operates it, goes about the business of acquiring NFTs that already exist and incentivizing new NFTs to exist so that the company can own them. Basically, the goal of the DAO is to acquire as many high-value NFAs as possible on behalf of the shareholders of the LLC.
Right, but not in a hoarding sort of mechanism. It's not there just in and of itself. I mean, I saw this as being more of a SPAC overview, so a special purpose DAO, if you will. Like, it's only there to fund specific projects for a specific purpose.
So it's mandated. Like, the DAO has some mandates that it will follow. So if someone starts
it's a special purpose acquisition company, but we're not acquiring the projects. We're only acquiring certain share of the attribution by giving seed funding to that project, so that project gets written, the code gets written, and then that project still owns most of that. But we don't just get a small share of that from the DAO.
Well, we negotiate a position with the people who do the work.
That's right. Of course. I'm not saying that it's 50-50 necessarily. Yeah. I'm just saying that it's whatever they accepted that the DAO gave, and of course, us being writing it, we don't want to be assholes. So we're probably trying to write something that's fair. But again, that can also be expiring. So my point is that inside the contract, you could say there's two mechanisms for expiration. One is over time, once the delivery is done and everyone's happy and all the boxes get ticked and everybody says, yep, at some point, the attribution goes back to the project. And the DAO's said, hey, we got our 6% return. We're happy. Here's your money. Or here's your attribution back. We trade.
Right. Okay. So that repayment cycle is that I think that the security that the investors hold over the LLC entitles them to, at certain periods, we can say, well, we've spent this much money and we've acquired this many NFAs, so we are now going to, at your discretion, disperse the ownership of those NFAs to the investors, and they can do with them as they please.
Right. I mean, yes, absolutely. That could definitely be one of the mechanisms.
Right, because we almost want that company to, when it wants to do a second round, like it may want to do a B round, you want to basically say that that's a different class of shares, because the money that B round expends is going to buy a different batch of NFAs. That's right, because it's going to be a very specific purpose for it. Yeah, because the NFAs aren't fungible.
And that's going to be firewall, because those projects that B round funds, they're going to be specific to the B round. Right?
Yeah.
Because that special purpose acquisition is going to be for that particular project.
Those NFAs. Yeah, those NFAs, which either don't exist or exist already, and we agree to acquire them.
And Series A may or may not be involved in that. You know?
Yeah. Series A may have run out of money,
Right.
or whatever money is left from Series A may be used to buy into the B round at the dollar value there.
And that would be part of the vote. Right?
Yeah. Okay, all right. So this is starting to look like something that makes sense to me. That I believe that model will not be in conflict with the Dreamcatcher model.
Right. Well, that's the idea. I was trying to come up with a model that wouldn't conflict with our worldview.
Yeah, right. Because the shareholders want the most they can possibly get. Fair enough, right?
Right.
But because we make the one rule that we're only doing this for the purpose of getting these NFAs,
right.
That means that we're not going to conflict. I'm pretty sure.
Right. And also the people who are doing this work for on behalf of the Dreamcatcher are also decentralized because they're not part of the part of the core team.
Well,
but they're brought in as people who are subject matter experts that can get this kind of work done.
Right, and they're either passively acquired by us announcing money for work, or they're actively acquired where we go out and pay a contractor on their terms to do the work, and then, for example, we might keep all the NFA because we paid the contractor what he asked. He was okay with that. Deal's done. All the IP rights come over to the NFA. Nothing.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
But also the other mechanism in here is a kill switch as well, where the project is either done or we're no longer involved or it's orphaned or whatnot, and the DAO could kill switch that project in the contract.
Where is the kill switch slide? I recall it, I just don't know where it...
You're looking here, it's been a while.
Kill switch call governance. Oh, so governance can call kill.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Is that governance can call self-destruct too, right?
That's the same thing. Same whatever you want. Yeah.
Okay, so self-destruct means the money in the pot the assets in the company get dispersed evenly amongst all the security holders of that particular class, right?
Well, I mean, it's whatever is based on that contract. I think it would be per however it's written. But the kill switch would basically be a revert, so it would revert all monies back to the shareholders or the DAO treasury, and then all assets would go to however the contract is written. You know,
which is the piece I'm trying to hone in on, whereby I think that it should be the ownership. Each NFA is tokenizable insofar as it can be split into arbitrary many parts. And so the NFAs that the company acquires should all be split the same way, which is amongst the shareholders proportional to the amount of shares they own.
Well, that's the next slide. That's the tranches, yeah. Right, so that's the attribution tranche, where it's however it's written would be how it's dispersed and how things are paid and that kind of stuff. So
okay, this is getting exciting. This feels like it'll actually... It's a traditional company that won't fight the Dreamcatcher model, but will actually
embrace it.
cause it to grow.
Right.
I swear to goodness, it's been the most frustrating experience to have people with. They're like, I tell them what we're doing, and they're like, "Holy shit!" All right, and they're like itching to write a check, and I'm like, I don't know where you would put that. I'm not sure how, right? Because if you made a company that was formed to do a Dreamcatcher project, they'll always try to distort that project to pull as much into them as possible, because that's just what companies do. But if you only want the NFT A's, then it stays pure.
Right. And then they can trade those NFAs that they want to cash out.
Right. Now, with the NFAs, trading the securities of the company would be only permissible amongst private investors.
Right.
How you sound confident that you could trade an NFA and not fall afoul of securities laws? Do you believe that?
Yeah, because those NFAs exist in the Dreamcatcher.
Right, but are they not? Are they not?
That's,
Do they not
they're
include in
firewall.
them a promise of return, a promise of profit?
No, because it's a promissory note. It's a loan. We give you a
That's the bit I
promissory.
don't understand.
The share of the LLC is only a promissory note to access to an NFA. We don't promise you any return on that. You only have access to it.
Sorry,
What you do after that?
I'm saying after, let's say the kill switch has been pulled, the NFAs have been dispersed.
But that could be a loss as well. Like we don't dictate what the NFA is. That's in the Dreamcatcher marketplace where you either buy or sell or trade it or hold it.
Yeah. But is an NFA a security if I trade it?
I mean, in the Dreamcatcher probably, but not in the LLC.
Let's imagine purely in Dreamcatcher land.
Right.
It seems like an NFA is not a security because it's a finished, done thing. There's no common enterprise. It's done. The thing is done.
I mean, no. What I'm saying is that, in my mind, trading NFAs within the Dreamcatcher isn't a security because there's no promise of return. It's just a NFT. It's just a bounded asset. Whether or not you get a profit from that or how you trade it, that's not a security. That's just a tradable asset.
Whether or not it receives a royalty doesn't make it a security either, because that sort of looks like a dividend if you look at it from the right angle.
Still a royalty though.
Okay, and selling things
like Spotify has royalties all the time. Is that shares?
Sorry, say again.
I'm not.
What?
I'm already voted too.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, Mark was. No, I mean, so you're telling me that everybody that's under Spotify is shareholders? No, there's just royalties. They get paid out through Spotify.
Can you trade the rights to a song?
Yeah, you can, but that's a private sale normally. That's not an open market. We're creating an open market for that.
And it's not a security?
No, it's an asset.
It's an asset, and the asset may earn a royalty.
I mean, it's like trading cars. Trading cars isn't a security. It's an asset. Assets and securities are different things.
But a car will never attract a royalty.
It could if you were to fractionalize it. Then we're talking about assets.
So we're pretty sure that an NFA, trading NFAs is not securities. But trading,
no, it's not.
If we were to, I think I see what the security is. If an NFA doesn't exist and you ask someone for money for you to make it exist, that is a security, what you promised them.
Right, but that's why there's a firewall here.
Right. Right. So that whole aspect is handled by the LLC. That is securities, because you're saying put money here and we'll go engage in common enterprise and we expect to give you a profit on that. Right?
But that share that of the Dreamcatcher LLC, that share is the security.
Yeah.
That is the only security.
Yeah, that's the security. And then we use that money to speculatively build NFAs, which may never be built and may never have a royalty attached to them, but that's the venture, that's the risk.
But I mean, that's again, it comes back to the fact that we're trying to separate different structures in there. Where you could be someone that you could just go straight to the website and put in your credit card and be a liquidity provider, right? That doesn't make you a shareholder.
How would that work? What is a liquidity provider doing in this sense?
A liquidity provider would be the top level person off the street, sort of mom and pop person with a credit card that likes the Dreamcatcher idea and wants to get involved, but doesn't want to vote, doesn't want to do anything else. They just want to provide some sort of liquidity to the project with some, maybe they might get a share of whatever NFA return comes back.
Is that not investment?
It is an investment in certain aspects, but it's not a direct investment in terms of like you don't get shares for it. It's just it's just like any other DeFi project where you're providing a liquidity to a pool, and the pool has to be the treasury. And then we say like, look, you give us this money, we're going to borrow it from you, and we'll give you 6% return on it.
Oh, so you mean like a loan? Because you said the word loan, and I didn't click that you meant loan when you said loan.
Right.
So you can put your money in there, and it earns interest or yield, in what the kids are calling it these days, and that gets used by projects. Is it guaranteed in any way?
No.
So the money might get lost.
Yeah, there's a risk involved, but you get a certain return, so you can yield. So it'd be like a bond almost, like a bond yield. So you're just basically saying, I want to be a part of this core project, keen on it, and I want to put my money where my mouth is. And I
guess the question for me is like, you should be able to buy an NFA. Just like I mean, I can go on to Upwork and I can commission a developer in the Ukraine to build me a SaaS app. Right. I should be able to go onto the Dreamcatcher and commission someone to build me an NFA just with my credit card, because it's not a security.
But that's from the Dreamcatcher. I'm talking through the LLC specifically. So if somebody comes to the Dreamcatcher LLC website and is keen to get involved, they look to the pitch deck and they go, oh my God, I got to get involved in this.
Right.
The lowest common way to get involved would be to go into the liquidity pool area, the DApp part of the LLC, and say, I want to get involved. Here's $1,000.
Okay, where does $1,000 go?
$1,000 would go to the treasury.
Treasury held in a bank account?
No, that's just the treasury vault. It's the liquidity vault.
The LLC has a bank account with, say, Chase. The bank account.
Again, that's specifics. I'm not sure where that would exist.
No. Yeah, I'm trying to talk specifics so I can understand it. Okay. Let's say
I would assume that the Dreamcatcher would have a bank account somewhere. I mean, there would have to be
all right. So if we registered this LLC in New Zealand, then let's say we bank with the Bank of New Zealand. Someone puts in their credit card. We process it through Stripe. The money goes into the Dreamcatcher companies, the Dreamcatcher LLC bank account and Bank of New Zealand. It's now available to be spent at the behest of the DAO.
Right.
Okay, and how does the DAO spend it?
The DAO, again, would look at critical to function functionality in the Dreamcatcher core protocol. They would vote on that stuff, and then any returns from the NFAs that would come back first go to the governance, and then we go to the tokenized NFA shareholders, and then we go to the liquidity providers. So the liquidity providers would be the last tranche paid, and they would get, since they don't have the NFAs or the rights to vote or anything like that, but they do get a certain portion back from their loan. And either they can just keep that loan going.
It's an unsecured loan.
Right, absolutely.
And so you don't get a security that you can trade. You simply
you don't get an NFA for that. You're just providing liquidity, and you don't want to be involved in voting or participation. It's just
okay, that's quite clever. That's an entirely separate model of funding. Have you seen that model applied somewhere?
Yeah, almost every DeFi project nowadays.
So there are DeFi projects. I spend a lot of time not going out on the internet. Are there projects that you can turn up with a credit card and become a liquidity provider in a DeFi project, right?
Yeah.
And Stripe has not cancelled their ability to process credit cards?
Really not.
That is incredible.
I can name you like 8 different projects that do that right now. One of the biggest ones is Wax. Wax runs like so many different games right now.
How do I spell it? WAX?
Yeah.
Wax DeFi.
No, it's not Wax DeFi. It's wax.atomichub.io.
On wax.io?
Wax.atomichub, one word, .io.
Okay. Atomichub.
No, hub. I
Atomic
don't know
Chub.
what AtomicHub.io. You want me to put it in the general? Put it in
Atomic
general
Chub.
for you.
Okay,
You got it?
I got it.
All right, so Wax is an NFT marketplace. It does a lot of trading and whatnot, and you can actually buy stuff straight with your credit card on here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's cool. So, and beyond just buying stuff, you can also provide liquidity using a credit card.
Theoretically, so what I can do is I can buy Wax on here, right? And then I can go to their liquidity providing pool, which is staking. I can stake that.
So Wax is the governance token?
Yeah. So I can take that governance token, I can go into the governance body, and I can vote
And I
on
can
the
buy the
validators.
governance token with a credit card. I'm sorry to repeat myself so many times.
Yeah.
I can buy the Wax governance token with a credit card.
Yep. And then go stake it in the governance pools, and then get a return.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
How is that legitimate?
It's been doing it for ages, dude.
Oh man, what a great scam.
And their claim to fame right now, like at least the one I'm aware of, is the Alien Worlds game that runs on top of Wax. So you can mine Trillium, which is in-game currency, with assets, and people pay hundreds of dollars for the tools to mine. Like you're literally physically mining, and you actually pay like literally $200-300 per tool. Some of them, and you would get you mine Trillium, and then that Trillium can be converted back into Wax, where you can stake it on the governance.
So hang on a minute. So you can buy an NFT tool that someone creates that can mine.
No. Somebody just can't create it. This is controlled by the Wax.
Right, it's controlled by the game rules. But you can buy an NFT tool that can then mine Trillium, which makes you a return
with Wax.
Which looks a lot like buying a piece of code that was NFA'd.
I know, right?
So, okay.
I mean, if you want to come around sometime, I can show you the game and how it functions and how like this kind of stuff is pretty applicable.
That would be great. I am a little under the pump right now, but that would be great.
They're literally oh my god. Yeah. So, but I mean, if you got a few minutes, it won't take long.
Shit, man, that is fucking crazy.
Yeah. So, and this is like the #1 blockchain for that right now out there. I mean, OpenSea is the biggest NFT trading platform.
Yeah. What do they run on? What chain do they run on under the hood?
They got their own thing.
Their own thing.
Wax is their own thing, man.
No.
Yeah.
No one makes their own thing. That's just stupid.
It's their own stuff. I don't know what to tell you. It's on Binance too. It's legit.
Oh, that's EOS. No, that's on top of EOS.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Neat. That is goddamn amazing.
And the transactions are pretty much free and dustless and whatnot too.
Yeah. That was. I mean, EOS does have some good points.
Yeah.
I won't try and name them.
I trade with my mate the other day. You probably met him, Britt, but he got on. I got him on the game. He's pretty addicted, so I just sent him a bunch of tools I had lying around. I wasn't using them anymore. And, just went to him straight away, and I didn't pay anything to send it to him.
Right.
So.
Oh man. Okay, this is exciting. This is way easier than I thought it was going to be. Like, sounds like a lot of people have dealt with the regulatory hurdles to make sure that it's all legit.
Or not. I don't know about compliance. I can't say whether or not this complies with local laws. I'm just saying that the ability is there. Now, whether or not certain banks start turning off the tap tomorrow,
that's the thing, right? Like, you lose your...
That happens a lot, especially with Binance. Like, one of the things in one of the investment groups I'm in is like the biggest complaint is like, well, what bank are you using now? Because this bank now, I can't buy coins from Binance anymore, blah, 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 blah. So that's always been a really big problem. So.
Wow. Okay, so we are, all of a sudden it feels like in a different game. Like there's these NFT projects that are like, actually that's who we're up against.
Right.
Well,
Yes and no. I think that would be a very small sliver of the market share.
yeah, that is fucking mind blowing. I should go out on the internet more.
Well, that's why I'm doing this and putting it all in our folder so that we can capture everything at some point and put in that matrix we want, so that we all have a clear understanding of where the market is right now, the state of art.
Yeah. Like, this is definitely the thing, and that actually makes it a lot easier for us, because that funding model that you're talking about, that's actually really good. That's really good to be able to just credit card your way in, buy some of that governance.
Yeah, so I mean, you can crowdsource quite a bit of the funding, and then that's more decentralized as well.
So you wouldn't. Why not only do that? Like, why have the LLC at all?
Well, I mean, I still think you need a legal space somewhere for trademarks.
Entity, right? Yeah. Okay. So there's an entity, but like, we could say that there's no investors in the LLC, and then the only funding we take is from this liquidity providing.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one pathway. I mean, I was just thinking that. I mean, you said you had calls or something, or people.
Yeah, people, and I guess, like, people who want to put in, like $200K or whatever, is a lot. Like, you got to get a lot of credit cards to get that amount. It's easier to just get a chunk.
But I mean, you could there's a lot to be said about that particular seed funding too, because that $200,000 can be used for a lot of making things look more polished and more presentable, and getting more professionals involved,
and I guess, and if we only ever spend that money in the NFA way, then the company itself owns no assets except for cash and NFAs.
Right.
Which means it can never fight the Dreamcatcher. And it also means that an identical company, a copycat company set up that does the same thing, would actually be our friend.
Possibly, yeah.
Well, I mean, like, they because they would be trying to achieve the same thing, which is they want their NFAs to be valuable. That means the Dreamcatcher needs to be fucking smooth. They'd shoulder some of the load, which gets us closer to that tipping point of passing the critical mass point.
Right.
That is exciting.
There's heaps of these, man. This is just one of them. This is one that's specific to NFTs, I should say. The other ones are more like direct tokens. Like, I just buy certain token and then I can put it back into their pools, and then they go use it for other projects and do other things.
Right. And so I'm guessing there's a lot of scams happening in this space, though, right?
Oh yes, absolutely. But I'm just saying that you can suss them out pretty quickly. What the scams are.
How can we protect the people that put their money in with us?
Well, the ultimate protection will be the vaults and the safeguards and multi-sigs and things like that.
Oh, right. So basically the code that covers the deployment of the funds is the safeguard.
Yeah. So we have to make sure that that's auditable, and making sure that that's open source and it's bulletproof, and we don't get caught with our pants down. We got time locks and dates,
and then the LLC, the directors of the LLC are the ones that guarantee that at the credit card step, the credit card purchase is giving you what it said it would give you. So that's safe there. Okay, this looks amazingly workable.
Yep, I think so.
And then we can actually present it to, say, a seed funder without the liquidity pool part, because that's just an addition, and it looks like a really simple picture when you drop the liquidity votes out, right? Like just for ease of understanding for the seed investors. Yeah,
because liquidity providers don't have votes anyway; they just have NFTs. But I mean, they could always they could stake those NFAs for votes. I mean, that's a possibility. But yeah, I mean, they would just have access to NFAs just like anybody else, and they would get whatever return on those NFAs as a whole, because it would be a treasury return. It wouldn't be like hey, you're doing this specific project. I mean, you could probably get like that if you wanted to, but this would be more of a overall like, hey, if you provide liquidity, we're going to take your money as a loan and we're going to give you back 6% or 8% or 20%.
Yeah, every time it comes back in, it's going to get something.
Yeah, your head just disappeared now. So.
Okay. Last topic.
Yeah.
Let's say that hypothetically there were some patents that covered the operation of the Dreamcatcher, and the LLC managed to acquire them somehow. What benefit would that be, if any?
What do you mean? Like if you have a patent? Market advantage, absolutely. That would be like the creme de la creme of market advantage.
How would that be applied in a way that did not distort or diminish or retard the Dreamcatcher?
What do you mean? Like, do you mean assume or acquire? Like, do you mean like have control of, the rights of, or like what do you mean by acquire? So that'd be the first thing. What does that mean?
So the patent is purchased by the LLC.
Yeah, but it can only be purchased for like $1. You can't buy a patent right now in most common law. Like you can only sell the rights, and those rights are usually sold for a minimal amount. I mean, if it's a private sale, absolutely you can sell for whatever that private sale amount is. I'm talking about within a company. So I'm just saying, like, if I was working for Fisher & Paykel and I've done something inside Fisher & Paykel and I'm on the patent, which I am on several patents there, I sign my rights away and they give me $1, right? So that's how that works. And so that'd be the same way. So as a private sale, the patent would be acquired by the LLC. The LLC would pay the patent holder a certain amount. There would be a contract drawn up saying that the rights holder now transfers ownership of the patent, exclusive use of the patent to the company.
Yep.
Like so it's not ownership of the patent, just exclusive rights to use the patent. So they now have exclusive ring-fence of that technology.
Yep.
So no one else can use it other than that company A, which is Dreamcatcher LLC.
Yeah. Okay. So if the LLC has those exclusive rights to a patent that covers the protocol of the Dreamcatcher,
right?
Would that be of benefit, and how?
Yeah, absolutely, because that means that you now have exclusive use of a technology that no one else can use.
Who would you deny from using the Dreamcatcher, given our goal is to produce open source software that's usable by anyone?
I mean, you necessarily wouldn't, but what it is from an investment standpoint is that you have a market advantage over, and a first mover advantage over everybody else for the next 20 years. That's what you're saying. So
you could choose to apply that patent at any point, is what you're saying.
That's right. You have the right to start going around and suing everybody if you want to be a dick. You have the right to be a dick, is what I'm saying.
Right, but would not then the people who were looking to build upon the Dreamcatcher be nervous that one day they might get sued?
Not if it's in the rights somewhere in either the license or whatnot. That by signing up to the Dreamcatcher and signing the license,
okay. Here's something: if you sign the DPL, you are protected. You're now part of the patent. You can now use the licensed technology as much as you want, and you can sue other people who are infringing on you. Right? Like you.
You could be something in the DAO language that basically says that that you have a portion of this, and then sure, you might be able to go after somebody on the Dreamcatcher's behalf, but I mean that gets pretty crazy.
I was more meaning like because the majority of money needs to come from outside the Dreamcatcher, like vast, right? And so if I make a project that makes an ERP system, and I signed the DPL, I developed it in accordance with the DPL, I have patent rights, and then out in the marketplace, someone takes basically a copy of my code and starts trying to sell it to people, which diminishes my market share, then I can call on the patents to stop them from doing that.
Again, that would have to be inside some sort of DPL that you have given some sort of share rights to that patent.
Yeah.
Like you're part of a collective that actually the DAO collective.
Yeah.
But once you're part of the DAO collective, then you have rights to go after person B for
stealing people who broke the rules of the Dreamcatcher can now be outside of the Dreamcatcher code. People who broke the rules of the Dreamcatcher in the real world can now have something done to them.
Right, they're excluded for one, and then they can actually, they could be sued in some sort of court depending on.
All right, so you could make the argument that whilst we are trying to make the Dreamcatcher protocol a rent-free environment where no one has control over it, if we were wise and very insightful in how we applied and licensed any patents that we might acquire, we could actually accelerate the growth of the Dreamcatcher.
Right. I mean, those patents would have to be acquired worldwide. So, I mean, if you want to cover every jurisdiction, so I mean, that would take quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
That would be part of the Treasury. That would be their mandate. Because the Treasury would be to seek patents and make them open source.
Okay.
As long as people obey the rules,
open
and
source
they can use it.
star, right? Like it's like open source, but you have to be a good actor.
Right. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, good source.
Yep. And that would be like a reverse patent troll, basically. So you're open source. Right. You become an open source platform where you're buying all these patents.
Like
from
the inverse of a troll, whatever that is.
Yeah, so we're like opening up and being more transparent with technology so that more and more patents that the LLC controls, the more that the DAO controls those, the more the collective actually has rights to them.
Right, because what I really hope we can get going in the Dreamcatcher at some point is a way to do like patent liquidity, whereby you can sort of, instead of having to negotiate piece by piece on the rights to use a patent for whatever means, it's like these assets are put up in a pool, and then people following the Dreamcatcher model of attribution, for example, have those patent rights automatically. They automatically pay their royalties. It's all kind of predictable and calculatable, and it's not being trolled. It's just being dispersed in a way.
And again, that could be under a license where any patents under the LLC control are open source to participants who have signed the documents.
Yeah, something like that.
So you automatically have, as soon as you sign up to the DPL, you automatically have rights to use patents.
And there's a predictable algorithmic royalty structure in place, but it's like a fair one that everyone's kind of agreed on. So it's not right. And then
that can totally be done. Now, the legal side of suing somebody and all that stuff, that's outside of my preview.
Yeah.
But I mean, first of all, I think you'd have to be able to control the patents in all the different jurisdictions that would be applicable to.
Yeah.
So the EU, the US, and I'm certainly not China. Fuck China. Japan. So I mean, maybe India. Maybe. So I mean, like those big sections. That's you would need to get like Australia, because with Australia becomes New Zealand, sort of. You know, they kind of come along as part of the package. But I mean, as long as because that's where most of those patents are filed. When you file patents globally, it's always the US, the EU, Japan, Australia, and India. Those are generally the ones that everybody cares about. Everybody else just knows that everyone else is just going to steal it anyway, so there's no point in going to Russia or China or Botswana. Like it's just not going to happen anyways because the legal system is just not in your favor.
Yeah.
So you want to go to more of a Western style democracy where you can go to a court of law and seek damages. Claim damages. And then every single jurisdiction is going to have their own jurisprudence and all that. So that's going to be a quagmire. But I mean, theoretically, you should be able to do it. I mean, I don't know how yet or whatnot because I'm not a patent attorney, but I've dealt with quite a few of them. But I just know it's extremely hard to do that. Extremely difficult. A lot of money. So I mean, it would be like one of those situations where like Johnny in Michigan goes, hey man, I noticed these guys over here are using the Dreamcatcher in a really bad way, and they're using our technology, and I want to take them to court. And the Dreamcatcher LLC would go, okay, great, tell us who your attorney is, and we're going to send them a check, right? And that would be how it would have to happen, like where the Dreamcatcher files actually sends a check that actually helps the attorneys win the case against that. And that's all the DAO would do. That's it. That's all they would do is they would just vote that, hey, we're going to take action, and that's going to be our representative for this. Is John? Because John's going to be the plaintiff because he's going to sue for the damages. He has to be the damaged party. So I mean, again, and the only way he would show damages is that he would be part of the licensing that says that he's part of the collective that is being damaged by it.
You'd almost want to make a flash DAO for that purpose.
Right. No, I mean, yeah, it could be a flash DAO, but also it could be part of the mandate in the LLC where there's a treasury for just legal issues.
If you made it a flash DAO, and then the rewards for being part of the DAO is if the damage claim is successful, you get a portion of the payout. That's absolutely, yeah. No, that could totally be a reason why you have a flash DAO. Single purpose would be just making sure that we sue somebody for using the technology. Yeah.
And like 99% of those cases get settled anyway, so that settlement would be advantageous to everybody because that would be a merge, right?
Yeah.
Because then we would seek an agreement with the person who is using the technology illegally, and we'd say, please use it legally, and therefore we'll stop our thing, plus you'll pay this, and then everybody will walk away and we'll all be happy, and then that way that person's now under DPL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone else who's sat on the sidelines and watched it says, I better follow the rules.
Right.
Okay.
Again, I don't know the specifics. I'm just
details, but the principle seems sound.
Yeah, it would be a way to bring legal weight to certain DAO decisions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else?
I am very happy. For
once. Awesome. That's good.
I don't know, give it half an hour. But this stuff is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, man, no problem. Glad I could help.
Yeah. Anything from your side?
Not on the top of my head. Do you and Ben have any calls scheduled soon?
We don't. I'll hit them up now. Actually, we should get one.
Yeah, because I think you guys were talking about one, but I wasn't sure if you guys set an event.
We had one. We streamed one on. I forget the days that all blurred together. I forget which day it was, but it was like a couple of days ago, 3 days ago or something.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll have to watch that one.
Yeah, I chucked it in the. I made an event for it, and then I mentioned you in it. But I just assumed, life.
I didn't see a thing come up.
Okay.
Okay.
It's on the. Hang on, I'll get the exact date it was for you.
I guess the events don't ping very well. It only pings if you're inside the app. So.
Right. This was on Tuesday at 1:30. So there's a stream, there's a YouTube thing there for it.
All right. Then I'll have a look.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I'm good.
Thank you very much.
No worries, man.
I'll keep working on the code so this can all actually happen. And then, I'll...
kind of important.
Yeah. I'll catch you around.
So, I mean, I guess I would ask, we can do this. You can stop the stream now.